Have you been thinking about seeing a business consultant? Starting your search can seem difficult, but you don't have to worry because we're here to help. Today we're catching up with a local expert on business consulting who will point you in the right direction and have you feeling confident to quickly make your decision.
Ooh, that's fancy.
There you go.
Ooh.
Years of PowerPoint experience. That's all I got to show for it right there.
I've been getting better, but I gotta look up that animation. Ooh. So welcome. This is the Things Have Changed webcast. I'm your host, Mike Larkin, and I have a special guest, Kevin Palachi, from Direct Shield. How are you, Kevin?
Doing fantastic. Yourself?
Fantastic as well. Still hunkered down.
It's all a mindset. You got to start. You got to start there. You got to have the right mindset.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. But I still say we're hunkered down. But today is the 20th, so big day in history in Connecticut. We are reopened in some businesses across the state. And I was just telling you, we kind of haven't changed. We're kind of pivoted our business, and that's where we'd like to start today. Is first of all, let's get a little bit of your background so we can go through these cool slides.
All right, sure thing. Yeah. So again, my name is Kevin Palachi, and before I get involved with Legal Shield, down on Brad Street, went to school. Actually, I'm here in the state of Connecticut, obviously, in Bloomfield, and went to Bloomfield High. I was a first-generation college student, so went to the University of Connecticut, and got a degree there in finance back in 2000, which I can't believe has been decades, right? I know a lot of people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you look like you're in high school or something." I'm like, "No, I turned 41 in December, so." I'm gonna appreciate that when I'm like 80. I'll appreciate that. But
41 is the new 21.
Absolutely. So, but yeah, that's pretty much where I went to school, and from there went to work for an insurance company, and really was approached with Legal Shield primarily on the service side. It was actually one of my coworkers was looking to get the service for herself and her family, get her will prepared, and invited me to kind of take a look at a presentation. And literally that same day I signed up for the service. I was like, man, this is a no-brainer for $25, all the different services we have access to. And I wasn't much of an entrepreneur, back then. I mean, I was, I think probably like a lot of folks, I thought I was going to climb the corporate ladder. I'm like, one day I'll be CEO, right? And quickly discovered that I didn't want to necessarily, work the rest of my life in corporate America. Read a book that absolutely, every chance I get, I talk about because it really changed my perspective, which was Rich Dad Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki. You might be, I'm sure, familiar with it. But it just kind of really, shifted my focus and really helped me to understand just different ways to kind of, get to the same destination, but different roads to get there. And so I was more receptive, more open, to get started in a business, and started as an independent associate, just like everyone else, and earned some, decent part-time income, and about a year later went full-time. So I've been involved with Legal Shield now for 16 years and full-time for about 15.
Wow, that's great. And you mentioned entrepreneurialism, and there's people out there that are in the crossroads, either in their career where they've been laid off or furloughed or fired, and some of them are going to be asked to come back, and some of them are going to be asked to come back and say, no, the time I spent in corporate America is taking time away from my family. I want to watch my kid grow, and I want to coach his little league team. Whatever, they have those family values, and the time they spent with them is so precious that they don't want to see what happened to their father and how he missed their childhood. Something like that. That's going around. And you mentioned entrepreneurialism. What is the most important lesson that you learned in your 16 years about being an entrepreneur? What's the most important, like, if you, well, that's not fair, but if you were to nail it down to like 3 important lessons?
Well, I would definitely say off the bat, one of the things that I always, really talk about when I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and, independent associates with Legal Shield is that, when it comes to becoming your own boss, right, no one's going to be there to wake you up in the morning. No one's going to tell you when you need to do the activity to be successful in your business, right? This is not college. This is not even a job where you have a boss over your head. Like, you don't do what you need to do. You could be let go. But you could essentially fire yourself for not doing what you need to do to be successful in your business. You get fired by your customers by not doing the right thing. So one of the things I always focus on primarily is the importance of obviously self-discipline, self-motivation. You may have heard of Jim Rohn, who was a business philosopher, and he said that he had this concept. He said, look, a lot of people are just kind of waiting for someone else to kind of come along to get them motivated, to get them going. And the question you always want to ask yourself is, what if they don't show up? So what happens to your business? What happens to your family? What happens to your finances? You're sitting around waiting for someone else to come and motivate you. So as an entrepreneur, you can't wait for anyone, right? You've got to be internally motivated to get up in the morning and do what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. So that's definitely one of the biggest things I say you have to, and that's a skill really that could be developed. Like I wouldn't say I was born with it necessarily. So if I had to try to pin it down to specific things, I would say, number one, work on, being self-motivated. And how do you do that specifically is focus on personal development, right? So that's a really big thing for me where, again, when I was at UConn, when I graduated, I was like, I don't want to see another book, right? That was just kind of how it was. I was like, I'm through, right? I'm all done, right? I got my degree. And I went to, I think it was Kinko's. I was making copies for my job or something. I saw, and it's funny, we just had a Zoom last night with some of our other associates where we talked about, hey, what are some of your favorite books? And I started talking about one of the first books I picked up was Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, right? And it's all small stuff. And Who Moved My Cheese? Because it was a small book, right? So I was like, that's a confidence builder. And then it started leading to, through positive peer pressure with some of my coworkers. We were going to lunch every day, and they kept talking about Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it was like that. And again, usually you hear peer pressure, you're thinking about doing the wrong things. And here I am. I'm like, man, I need to pick up this book. I feel left out of the conversation. And that book absolutely changed my life. So for an entrepreneur, I would say number one is definite. And it is way too easy, too accessible now to get information that you need to be successful in anything. So whether it's a Google search, whether it's YouTube videos, the library, I mean, you look at the library and you get all these audiobooks that are available. I'm a big fan of Audible. I've got an Audible library. You can kind of see some of the books. I can't even fit any more books in the bookshelf, so now I'm doing like Kindle. So like even this morning, I have books now that I'm doing on Kindle because I just ran out of physical space to put the books. So I think definitely number one is personal development. And then as a second thing I would emphasize is definitely time management. Very, very important. Time management, my philosophy on time management is that you have to calendar your commitment, right? So whatever that you're committed to doing, so again, whether it's time in your business, time with your spouse, time with your kids, your hobby, if it's not reflected in the calendar, then you're not really serious about it. You may say you're serious, but if it's not in the calendar, it means that you really don't care, right? And I'm very adamant about that. Like, it's got to be reflected. So I would focus on really those two things, personal development and time management.
I always say, if it's not on the calendar, it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. And my wife knows it. Like, so if I've got to do something around the house, she'll be like, okay, where's it in your calendar? And then she knows, like, if I hesitate, then it's not happening. On whatever it is, the honey-do list, like, it's not happening if it's not in the calendar. So she's figured me out now.
Right. She's got a hold of your calendar. You're doomed. The one thing that I was so good at in college was developing and enhancing and building on relationships. And when I got into digital marketing, I was headstrong into the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Another great book. In fact, if I have it around here, but that book has been marked in highlighter fluid.
Like every line, right?
You know what? Yeah. Because I've read it so many times, I'm like, oh, I forgot that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all highlighted. But the one thing that I forgot, or the skill that was waning, is I mastered the tools that we have, and that's great. But I neglected the skills that it takes to build rapport, to enhance and build on relationships. So I made that a part of our business as far as our logo. Our logo is the Irish cladding, and it explains our why. You know, you always got to start from why.
Start with why, yeah.
Yeah, and my why is that clattering, and it starts with a heart. And I was like, well, how could we relate that to business? Well, we love what we're able to do for our clients and customers and partners. The second part is the crown. So we're loyal. We say we're fiercely loyal to our staff and to our clients. And then the two hands at the bottom are like shaking hands, and we say we always build we embark. That's not the right word though. We strive to build or establish lifelong relationships every single day. So those are the three pieces to get me going but more importantly, the people that I bring on, they have that installed in their why. And that keeps them going, keeps them sticking around. You know, because it's based on love, it's based on loyalty, and it's based on friendship. And you know, here comes Mike, he's the boss. I don't treat it like that. Hey, what can I do to help you? What are your values so I can press your buttons? But I want to know kind of what makes you tick. What's your why? But encompass that, come to work with this why is why you're going to succeed. Or grow, you know. If you got other goals beyond this, great. You know.
Yeah.
Don't compete with me, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that's absolutely essential. You know, it was Simon Sinek. You know, he has a book, you know, Start with Why, and it's so important.
That's my favorite YouTube video from from 2009.
Absolutely powerful. Yeah, and he's so right. I mean, if you focus on that first as a foundation for yourself personally, for your business, everything else comes along for sure.
I love that. I listen to it every time I get a chance. Let's take a look at some of your other slides here. This is pretty.
Yeah.
What's this?
This is actually a Legal Shield corporate office. This is we're based actually in Ada, Oklahoma. You know, it's you know, I think about a $30-40 million family facility, and we've got about 500 employees here. I don't know if they're physically there now, with probably working from home, but you know, we're a brick and mortar company. You know, we've been around since 1972. So I love showing this because it's an impressive design. I forgot who the architect was, but they actually won some sort of award for the actual building architecture here as well. So I've actually been there a couple of times. It's awesome.
Wow. Yeah. 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 It looks. Well, I'm standing back. If you weren't to see that it was a building, you can see where the blueprint might look the same as the building itself. Yeah, that's pretty cool. How long has Legal Shield been around? 50 years?
Since actually on the next slide, I believe it kind of has some of the specs on, you know, the history of the company, because, you know, that's the question. I know for me personally, when I got involved, I'm like, how long has this been around? I've never heard of it. And so we've been around since 1972, you know, so, you know, quite some time.
Okay, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do this because it's not moving, and this. So I'm going to do current slide. Okay.
Yeah.
1972. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so it's been around for quite some time, and I know we oftentimes get the question, like, how are you able to get access to attorneys for $25 a month that are responsive, that are professional? And it's because of really this group buying power, you know, concept. So we've got over 4 million people now throughout North America. So we're in all states, we're in all provinces and territories of Canada as well.
Hard to believe it, but with the right professional, the vision is always clear and focused. Take advantage of our guest speakers' expertise by calling the number on your screen. Thank you for joining us.